The truth is finally coming out when it comes to retirement. Finally. It's it's a cascading, escalating, I don't know what it's called, where it's like a snowball just starts this gathering steam. The gathering steam is not to be denied. And the only people sitting there is like the same people, Al Gore's of the world. The global warming, Miami will be underwater by 2020. It didn't happen. Well, 2030. Paul Ehrlich, we won't build a food population. But it's just the whole thing's so stupid, dude. And look, I'm so happy to be part of the good guys because everybody else is the bad guys. It's just this because they're either, I've said this a million times, and I'm not one to accuse people of being lying snakes of sacks of Finney's freaking poop, but how you're either ignorant, which means you just don't know. And if you're an academic, you need to know because there's no room for ignorance in academia other than our woke schools right now, or you're lying, sack of crap. And I don't know which one it is because the data is so overwhelming on this that it's insanity to keep pushing a retirement crisis. That does not mean there aren't some people who are not going to have a good retirement. I'm just telling you. No one's sitting there because there's no crisis means everyone's freaking happy. No one's saying that. I'm just saying at the end of the day, the vast majority of people are going to be just fine in retirement. Why? Because we see it with our own freaking eyes. Empirical evidence. And the truth is starting to come out. Now, look, man, for me, it was Ty Bernicki. The guy, Ty Bernicki, who had written in the Journal for Financial Planning in 2005, The Reality Retirement. And that blew my mind. I was like, whoa. And then I read Larry Kotlikoff and Scott Burns' book, Spend Till the End. And it had nothing to do with retirement plan. It just said just common sense. Like, oh, yeah, that made sense about how we consume during our working years when we're raising families and whatnot, and how we consume less in our retirement years when the families are gone, our mortgages paid off. And then I read research from Michael Hurd, Susan Rowetter, back in 2009, 10, 11 and stuff. And then I said, okay, everything we've been told on this is just freaking silly. It pisses me off, not going to lie to you. Oh, by the way, I got my Bruins shirt on because I've noticed the Bruins won on Saturday. They won on Monday. When I had my shirt on, I did not wear it Wednesday. I forgot, and they lost. So obviously, I'm the reason why the Bruins either lose or win. So today they're playing Game 3 at home at the Garden against those evil Florida Panthers. So I got to wear my shirt on. Oh, by the way, if you're not subscribed to my channel, what the hell are you doing, dude? Hit that little thing that says subscribe. 50% of you aren't subscribed. Wrong answer. All right, so let's go into this now. This is my man over here. I was surprised to see this. Brett Ahrens. The golden age of retirement is a lie. I'm not going to read the whole article for you. I'll let you read it. But look, man, I had something to do with this. I don't know who Brett is. I mean, he doesn't know me. I don't know him. I don't know. I have no animosity towards Brett, but I'm surprised to see that because let's just put it this way: viscerally, vicariously, whatever the word is, disagree with Brett on a lot of stuff. But here's 100% right. There's no golden age of retirement, no matter what the idiot politicians say. There's never a golden age of retirement, says Brett. Retirees 30 or 40 years ago did not have it better than retirees do today. There is never a golden age of retirement. But these retirement myths and fairy tales die hard, and they were on display on Capitol Hill, where Bernie Sanders, Senate, Health, Education, Labor, and Pension, the help. Well, we need help. Held another dog and pony show on the topic. So stupid. The golden age was supposedly before the Great Plague of Greed suddenly attacked the country out of nowhere around 1980. What happened in 1980? Reagan was elected, yeah. Never let facts get in the way of a good story. And I'm not going to keep going on here. I'm just so stupid. I've done a million videos on this, but just to reiterate, the golden age private sector pensions were so great that Congress had to pass a sweeping ERISA in 1974 to curb many of the rampant abuses of pensions. And you just read books on this stuff. Go buy the older books. I'm reading a book by William Grabner right now. Talk about American and I'm just in the old days essentially. I don't even know if Grabner is still alive. But all these different stories. Right now I'm reading on the Brooklyn Bridge, the creation of the Brooklyn Bridge. Before that is the Black Codes, which they try to eliminate. It's insanely interesting. And then he goes into the Townsend, I forgot his name, Francis Townsend, I think, trying to make more pensions more available and stuff. It's all these stories that were historically correct, and if you don't know your history, you're dead. You're going to repeat it. That's a fact. All right. So then we got this article that came. Someone sent to me, my man James. Write it down. Here. There is no retirement crisis. This is John Tamny. I don't know who John Tamny is, but if you're looking for negative commentary about your retirement prospects, you don't need to look far or dig too deeply. Predictions of desperation for the elderly of tomorrow or the crisis that awaits them are everywhere, and they're other nonsense, 100%. I cannot agree. Lee Biggs's article in the Wall Street Journal, you do not need to be a millionaire to retire. And I'm not going to read this because I just had him on the YouTube channel not that long ago. And then we looked at Craig Israelson's software where he uses historical numbers. And I have an issue with using historical numbers. Not that I think it's wrong, but I just don't know if that's going to be reflected in the future. I don't know. That's the issue. But if we use historical numbers and we say, hey, what was the ability for someone to maintain his lifestyle in retirement? It's quite high. Quite high. That's just a fact. Now, will that be extrapolated to the future? I don't know. No one knows. That's the thing. We don't know. But to sit there and say, oh my goodness, the retirement crisis because X, Y, Z it's silly. And then part two of this is very demeaning. Human beings, this is what kind of like the leftist economics. They just think that humans don't have the capacity to make adjustments. And every single human, it does. That's why the top-down stuff that they leftists want to do. The government knows best and they're going to tell you what you need. It's so stupid. You know what you need, and you know what adjustments you need before the government will ever know. You know that if the price of ribeye is too high, you will make us what's called in economics a substitution effect. You will buy hot dogs. Now, yeah, you might not like hot dogs as much as ribeye. Welcome to the club, man. You know what I'm saying? You might not like a Toyota Tercel relative to, I don't know what rich people buy, some stupid Tesla. Welcome to the club. These are trade-offs, basic economic trade-offs. Are you worse off, though? No. Is your utility. You value that you have in the hot dog is less than the value you have in the ribeye, but it's higher when you factor in price. I actually like New York strip. I like it better than ribeye. All right. But if I can't afford New York strip, I'm going to buy hamburger, ground chuck, or I'm going to buy hot dogs, or I'm going to buy chicken or something like that. Now, I would enjoy more eating ribeye or eating New York strip, but I would enjoy it less if it made me have to pay more for what my utility is. This is what economics can't understand. You as an individual know your utility versus the cost, and you know for a fact, is this trip to I've got a couple work with the other day, they're going to go to Alaska. I said, fly first class for heaven's sake. You got too much money. Too much money. So the question comes to their mind is, flying first class, is it worth it relative to the worry of running out of money? Now, I can sit there and bang the table all day long. You're not going to run out. You're not going to run out. But they might say, it's not worth it. We would rather fly coach to just consume less to ensure that we're not going to be at a risk later on. And I get it. That's what economics don't understand. They don't get the utility. Now, they talk about margin utility. There's a guy, Tyler Cohen, who's got a MRU, Marginal Revolution University, MRU, marginal, which is basically utility. How much do I get out of the next instance? It's like marginal tax rates. My next dollar, what's that taxed at? My next consumption, what do I get as utility? My preference for that. Well, from a price perspective, on top of my preference for ribeye, that's what you have to look at. And human beings know, hey, I'm not going to buy this ribeye because it's going to make my bank account lighter, and I want my bank account. I get more utility, but I have a higher bank account and eating hot dogs than I would having a lower bank account and eating ribeye. All right. Love your thoughts. God bless. If you haven't subscribed again, you're wrong. Don't be wrong. We'll see you.